song may be bossa nova, but lately, Brazil's economy has been singing the blues. For an opinion about what happened and for ideas for Brazil to get its groove back, I spoke with Arminio Fraga, former central bank president and currently a top economist of the opposition. What concerns you most right now about the state of the Brazilian economy?
It's a combination of a very deep recession on the one hand, with this sort of view that the growth machine is broken. So beyond the cyclical, there isn't that much growth unless we get our act together.
What will it take to kickstart growth?
A lot. I think first we need to deal with a very profound macroeconomic crisis. At the moment we have a debt accumulation process that is very scary. And this comes from probably the 2014 campaign is when the government moved away from what had been for quite a while a fairly prudent, say, sort of budget policy to one that really lost control of things. And now, because of risk and fear, the compounding is becoming remarkable and very dangerous. It's very high rates of interest, a rare case in this world of ours, negative growth, and all of a sudden the discipline that the government had, it was generating what economists call a primary surplus, is gone. So we have a primary deficit. So it's like if you're a business, you're burning cash and piling up debt. And then beyond the macro that we're talking about, there's also, let's call it the micro. This is an economy that has been dealing with some pretty substantial challenges. There's been very little investment taking place here. There's a lack of confidence. There's a sort of ideological barriers to kind of leveraging private sector capital and so on. There are issues with the regulatory environment. So if you take our infrastructure, we could be in boom city here for infrastructure. Everything about our infrastructure demands urgent and substantial investment, but it isn't happening. There's this fear of what the rules are, and I think this excessive and heavy-handed presence of the government are getting in the way.
Just a follow-up question on the fiscal condition. Is it possible to make the cuts without reducing popular programs such as a Bolsa Familia or programs aimed at ending hunger?
Yeah, absolutely. The anti-hunger programs were abandoned very early in the first Lula administration. It was a campaign promise, but that didn't really make any sense as a policy, and he decided against that and in favor of turbocharging the direct transfer programs that former President Cardoso had put in place. And those are actually very effective as a tool to fight poverty, particularly extreme poverty, and they're cheap. So those could continue. I think the bulk of the money that is being spent, I think is sadly not as progressive from a social standpoint as these programs. A lot of these are subsidies for businesses that really don't need subsidies. They need a proper, economic backdrop to do their thing, but not necessarily all kinds of tax breaks and subsidized loans and even protection from foreign competition. And we have all of those, and well, surprise, surprise, it's not working. Well, it's not working because it really has never worked anywhere, including here.
To move a little bit, I would like to talk about inflation. It's creeping up it's over 10% right now. You're, of course, a guy that has a tremendous amount of experience working on inflation in Brazil, particularly in the Cardoso years. What does it take, to back up, what kind of threat is inflation to Brazil right now, and what will it take to get it under control?
So, inflation is above 10%. probably going down because we're in a real depression here. So there's pressure for inflation to fall. There were some one-offs also last year. But I think the most worrisome aspect of this is this longer-term inflation expectations are also high. And this is highly unusual. Brazil is one of the very few places in the world where you have that. And I think it's because we've lost control of the basic kind of macro policies, fiscal and monetary, and we have a bad history as well. So people, when they see and they sniff some inflation, then they start thinking, oh, you know, I need some indexation, I need some protection. This creates this sort of vicious circle that we've seen here in the past, much worse in the past, but it's still something we don't want to play around with.
And this kind of political side of it, what do you think would be more of a negative shock or a negative consequence for the Brazilian economy? An impeachment or the idea of muddling on with an ineffective government until 2018?
Look, an impeachment process is a legitimate, constitutionally existing way to deal with problems. And so long as that happens according to, you know, the Constitution and following proper due process, I think this could do us some good. And so, you know, that's sort of where at the moment many people here in Brazil are, and I'm in that camp because I think another 3 more years of the same would be catastrophic for us.
It seems in the last couple elections the PT has been able to pull through in large part by being successful with poor communities and poor states, especially in the Northeast. What do you think the opposition needs to do to communicate its message to those parts of the country and those people in Brazil?
During the boom years, this was a challenge because, you know, to be fair, poverty rates have gone down significantly here. The distribution of income has also improved. And it's hard for someone who was benefiting from these changes to listen to a warning that said, watch out, a lot of this is populism, unsustainable, some of it is driven by a commodity price boom. People don't want to hear it. And that's often the case with populist regimes. They're very hard to beat. They usually beat themselves. They usually blow up. And that's what we're seeing here.
Here we are, we have a country at an economic crossroads, a political crossroads, arguably a moral, social crossroads. What is the direction, what is the best way Brazil can move forward now that'll lead to taking the right fork in the road?
The end of this current regime will do wonders for us. You know, it's been a terrible economic run. It was good for a while, but it has completely lost its compass, and is also showing us this very ugly political side, which will hopefully put behind us as well.
Mr. Fraga, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.